Hey, what's up everybody? Oh man, I am so excited. I am more excited than you could even believe. If you see the leaps and bounds that we have jumped within 1 week, that will show you the leaps and bounds that we're going to jump as we evolve within this thing. Welcome to RiDetroit Weekly. I am your host, Jason Hall. Instagram handle, Jason of All Trades. Man, so we've been trying to do this for a minute. We've been trying to figure out a way that we could get messages out into the community, talk to people, and just have fun at work while we're educating people about e-bikes and things of that nature. And finally, we were able to finally launch this because we had the initiative and the time. I want to thank Anthony Blaisdell right now. I want to thank Alpha over there, not only for bringing in the lunch today, thank you brother, for being the inspiration behind a lot of the stuff that I do. I also want to thank Loomis Helmets, I want to thank Griffin Claw, I want to thank Wingman Water, and definitely Electric Avenue Bikes, man, which is the home of RiDetroit, where we not only do this show, but we rent e-bikes and we do bicycle tours. So if you ever want to go on a great tour of the city, the e-bike is the best way to do it. But without further ado, let's just move on, because every week I'm bringing you a new guest that hopefully you've never heard from, and hopefully it's going to educate you a little bit on something that's going around in the city. Last week we had Bob Barnes, the executive director of Free Bikes for Kids, on. Happy to say that they had an incredibly successful donation year, especially with everything that's going down with COVID. But we were able to get those guys, I mean, over 1,500 bikes are going to go out to kids over for Christmas. So congratulations to everybody over there that works hard on the Free Bikes for Kids team. And Bob, once again, nice job. This week, I am so excited to bring you not only a good friend of mine, but somebody who has become a mentor to me over time. His name is Ken Stonehouse. Ken Stonehouse is the COO of American Cycle and Fitness. And Ken and I have been talking for years and years and years about doing stuff together and going back and forth. And finally we were able to partner up, and Michael and Ken opened Electric Avenue Bikes in Detroit, and I was able to partner up with them and make this the home for RiDetroit. So we were excited to collaborate, and that was, I mean, really it was years worth of conversation that brought this together. So we're really happy to bring this to fruition. And I'm really happy to once again introduce you to a good friend of mine and my mentor, Kenny Stonehouse.
Jason,
Ken,
how are you, sir?
what's happening, Ken, man? Oh, I am so excited. Like I said, the smile on my face right now is not only for the amazing technology that we have going on, but I've been waiting to tell this story for the longest time. Like, because people always come up to me. And so when I first started saying that we were opening a store in Detroit, the first thing they heard was Trek. And everybody kept saying, oh, you're bringing a big box store to Detroit. And I kept saying, well, no, it's not a big box. This is a mom and pop store from Detroit that is built from the ground up and it's given this impression of being a big box. So I want people to hear the real story, because I joke that you've been working on bikes as long as I've been alive. That might not be true, but it's damn close.
You are quite close, sir. Yes. Yeah, my history is through Scarlett's Schwinn Cyclery, way back, launched in 1928 as Scarlett's Bike and Hobby Shop. And through all that time, I am only the fourth owner of that particular incarnation of American Cycle and Fitness. So a lot of history and a lot of great memories, but it started in downtown Pontiac in 1928. And in the early 60s, the second owner, Mr. Laird Scarlett, opened the store in downtown Pontiac on what was then Wide Track Drive, which is today the Woodward Loop. So we're on the same street as the Royal Oak store and your fine store there.
So not only do you have 8 stores in Michigan, but you have 3 on Woodward alone.
3 are on Woodward. You got it.
so 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 fast forward. Obviously, you weren't born in 1928, but let's fast forward to what was your first experience you remember of working in the bike shop?
So my father, Walter, he worked for Mr. Scarlett as a youngster, and he bought the business from Mr. Scarlett in 1978, and that was the year that I was subject to the forced child labor that that children of owners do not have any laws or protections for. So I got up one day and Dad said, we're going to work. And really, other than a college leave and a couple jobs outside of this business, I haven't looked back. So 1978, I started there.
So I wasn't far off when I said you've been working on bikes as long as I've been alive. I don't want to date myself.
You are correct.
But you're not far off, man.
I can tape handlebars in my sleep.
What was the first thing you ever did? What was the first thing that your dad gave you? Your responsibility right now, go at it.
He put me in the basement of the Pontiac store, and we had 4 or 5 guys down there assembling bikes. And back in those days, we would sell upwards of 4,000 to 5,000 bikes a year. It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. And every Saturday was typically a 50 bicycle day going out of the store.
4,000 to 5,000?
Yes. In fact, in the early 70s, a bike boom. My father told me they sold over 7,000 bikes. But more notable than that, he said we could have sold over 10. We just simply didn't have the extra 3,000 bikes to provide. It was crazy.
So what do you think at that time was causing this massive boom in bike sales?
Very easy to see. A perfect storm of number one, an energy crisis in the early 70s.
Okay.
And number two, even larger, adults started to ride bikes. Up until the mid 70s, it was a kid's business. And suddenly mom and dad are buying bikes for themselves in addition to their children. So average family of 4 automatically doubled the business because mom and dad walked out with bikes as well.
So with that boom, how many bike companies did you see just pop up overnight?
It was amazing. A lot of Japanese influence, and of course, a lot of European influence too. So Schwinn was a big player then. And so we would see Fujis, we would see Miatas. Raleigh, of course, was a big player back in those days as well. And in 1976, that's when Trek was launched. So launched out of a barn, out of what, Mr. Dick Burke, the founder of Trek, saw was an opportunity.
So was Trek on your radar at that time, or were you guys strictly dealing in Schwinn or everything that just you could sell?
Yeah, we were all Schwinn all the time in those days. Yes, they had everything we needed, and we didn't start branching out into other brands until really the early 80s when we took on some other brands.
And so you say this boom happened. How do you deal with this? Okay, so right now we're eating out of the gravy train. It's great. Everything is good. But then we start to see bikes start to decline a little bit.
Yes.
So we're seeing bikes decline, but at that time, you guys are thinking about expanding?
So in the 80s, things did decline. That bike boom was really through the 70s and then real deep recession in the early 80s. I was in high school at the time. I remember my dad doing a lot of bobbing and weaving as a small businessman, picked up a couple other brands, and we just cobbled together a few tough years and then kind of returned to some normalcy in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. But never really again hit those huge boom numbers. That was really a once in a lifetime thing.
So you're in high school, you're getting ready to go off to college. Are you already in this time thinking, you know what, I'm just going to go into the bicycle business, or where is Ken going at this point?
I was looking to get outside of the bicycle business. Yes. In fact, in high school, it's hard to see the love for the job at that age. In fact, I went out for football just to quit my summer stint early at the bike shop. Basically, Jason, to get out of the basement and at least go outside.
Because you hadn't left you're still in the basement at this time. You hadn't left the basement.
I hadn't left the basement in about 3 years. That's correct.
So wait, when did they let you out of the basement to go to sales?
I was actually around 18 or 19 when I just kind of migrated out of the basement and made my way to a windowed atmosphere.
Okay, so I can imagine, like, I mean, you've got this family business going on and you see the ups and downs of it without having to deal with it. So you get sort of a different vision. You're saying, all right, I want to go a different route. All right, because
Yes.
bikes is, my dad's going nuts. We've seen this up and down. So what was next? What did you do for it? Because you didn't do bikes the whole time. You came
That's
back
correct.
to it, right? Yeah.
Yes, and you know, in all seriousness, my dad wanted me to leave in a good way. Goes, you need to go out and see if this is something really for you. But it's a big world out there, and I don't want to pigeonhole your future. So I went to college. I got a degree in finance, and then I went to work for Chrysler out of college about 1987, and I worked there for a few years.
So 87, that K car years? Was that like around that time?
Fantastic K car years, minivan years, spectacular. Yes.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
I used to like make fun of minivans, but now I'm looking at them like, yeah, I'm gonna be a power side door guy. I know it, man. That's just my life these days.
Oh,
But so,
it's the greatest vehicle in the world from the inside looking out. That's the
you know what I
minivan.
mean? You know what I
Yes.
mean? I'm from the 70s, so I'm a full size van dude. You know what I mean? So if I can
Yeah.
get one with like a nice plush couch in it, you know what I mean? I go that route. But
Got it all.
so you're in finance, you're working at Chrysler, and
Yes.
then okay, so now it comes time to pivot again, right? I mean, what sparked that pivot to say, all right, I've done my time with Chrysler, and now it's time to go home?
You
Or
got it.
was home the next stop?
It was, yes. I think around 1991 or so, I made the decision to leave the auto business. Great experience there. I was a warehouse manager in parts and service in Detroit, and had a great experience there. Learned some great lessons and I think the biggest one is that 9 out of 10 employees are fantastic and want to do a great job and want to thrive, and it's really just our job to set people up for success. So it was a great learning moment for me. But that aside, my dad was looking to kind of back away a bit, and so we had a talk, and I said, yeah, let's get back to oil and bike chains. That's a lot of fun.
So you had some time off, and all that time off, were you thinking, all right, when I get back, if I get back, I'm going to change everything? Because that's how I am. I'm that guy who's like, even if it's not broken, even if it's working fine, I still got to put my mark on it. Were you saying, all right, it's time to move from 1928 Scarlets into 1990 Scarlets?
Yeah, there was definitely some of that. So, some fresh eyes. But I will say my dad was enormously successful. So to his credit, when he retired, we worked together a couple of years. He retired in 1995, and he walked out the door. Jason, I never saw him again. He simply just disappeared. If I saw him, it was to take him out to lunch. You want to stop in the store? Yeah, I'll say hi. Yeah, I'm good. I'm done. He just left it all on the field. So I would ask him some advice, and he would typically say, that might be a good idea. I'm sorry, I'm not very helpful anymore because I don't know the business. But he did great. The foundation he had set up was really about having selection, have it ready to go, and really, I think, have a consistent message in how to have a good customer experience. So those things really don't need to change, but the merchandising, the updates to the store, those were the things that I kind of focused on.
So what was the hot bike in the 90s? I don't remember. I graduated from high school in 1990 something, I'm not going to say. But what was the hot bike? Because it seems like around the 90s, mountain biking was starting to really do its thing. I mean, everybody
Oh
wanted
yeah,
a mountain bike.
absolutely. So the 80s were BMX.
Mhm.
Half our store was BMX. The 90s was absolutely a mountain bike boom. It was fantastic. And we had picked up a couple other brands, namely GT,
Mhm.
Giant, and the Miatas that we had as well, in addition to the Schwinn. So from that, the challenge became the struggle of Schwinn bicycles and the decline and ultimately the disappearance of them in bicycle stores. That was very challenging.
Yeah, because they were one of the first companies kind of to sell, or I mean, to go international in that sense that they weren't Schwinn the way we knew it anymore, you know? So
Yeah,
they went through a big company change. And so with that must have come a lot of brand loyalty kind of going away.
indeed. It in my estimation, and I believe this to this day, if you're not the best or you're not the cheapest, you're out of business. You're in trouble. You're the Oldsmobile of the bike world, and that's exactly what Schwinn was. So the cheapest is anything you can find at the department stores, and
Mhm.
I don't have any issue with that. We know what those bikes are, and why they exist, and we get to work on them too when they come into our stores. But the best, that was something reserved more for Trek, and so that is the brand that I took on in about 1996, maybe a year after I bought the business.
And I remember, thinking I had a GT mountain bike, but I remember looking at
Yeah.
Trek at the time and thinking that is a goal to aspire to have, even at that time, because for me, I knew it to be a rider-based company. They really put everything back into the technology. Um, so you're pivoting into Trek. We got
Yep.
mountain bikes going on. How do we start taking people who are used to riding what 80s 10 speeds and BMX bikes and acclimate them into this bigger tire, and how to actually use it? Because a lot of people are buying mountain bikes and never even touched a mountain.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
The mountain bike to me was the bike everyone was looking for, no matter what it was called. And because those road bikes from the 70s and 80s, they really weren't a good fit for the majority of people out there. But the business back then, Jason, we offered road bikes and some cruisers maybe, which were kind of a stodgy old person's bike. So
Yep.
here's the mountain bike that's providing us with higher handlebars, a little softer seat, a little fatter tire. The roads were kind of crummy anyway, so those softer tires made a difference. So it was almost like the sport utility vehicle of bicycles. It could do it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now you're dealing in Trek and you're at Scarlett's. Talk me through when did American Cycle and Fitness come into the picture, or when did that idea of becoming something new come into fruition?
So over the years, I had a colleague, Mark Eichmann, from what is now our Grosse Pointe store. Mark was quite like me as a child of the business, and he had taken over from his father, and we'd just been friendly colleagues all those years. But Mark had met up with one Mr. Michael Reuter, who actually chose to get in the business, and Michael came from the hotel business, and I think that was around 1990. I'm going to say about 1993 that Mark and Michael were partnered together,
Okay.
and Michael and I got to know each other just just on a friendly basis because we actually coincidentally lived fairly close to each other as well. So we started trading bikes here and there and just developed a good relationship all the way through the 90s.
And then Michael says, "Hey, who has the idea to say let's open a well, was it let's turn First Scarlets into American Cycle and Fitness, or was it let's just open another shop? Which came first?"
Yeah, around 2004, the three of us had put our heads together, and I had decided to join up with Mark and Michael and to change Scarlett's into one of the American Cycle and Fitness stores. So the signage stayed for a couple of years, but we ultimately changed it over. And today it's the ACF Bicycle Outlet, because we'll send our trade-ins over to Pontiac, where they get reconditioned and sold there, as well as new Trek bicycles too.
Nice, nice. Okay, so once again, now we're jumping. So you got Scarlett's
Yeah.
has become ACF. Okay, now we
Yep.
got 8 stores. So when did the global takeover begin? When did you guys say, you know what, let's just do this? I mean, I've always admired that about you guys. Let me say that first and foremost. Whenever I talk about working with you and Michael, I always say these guys have incredible vision, and they see what the things that are coming and they get ahead of them, and that's what keeps them ahead of the game. So at that time, you know, are you thinking, all right, we got to start expanding, we got to start, you know, making our mark? Talk to me about that process, because once again, we're not in a boom of bikes again. We're selling bikes, but we're not in
Yes.
a boom.
I would agree. Correct. Around 2005, the three of us at that time, we had Pontiac, Novi, Grosse Pointe, and Royal Oak. So we had the 4, and we also had Sterling Heights, which was Mark had 2 stores at that time. So we had 5. And ultimately, Royal Oak, Pontiac, when we decided to open Macomb in 2008, we then shut down Sterling Heights because it was surrounded by 3 pretty solid locations. Our decisions to do that were really based on setting a geography that made sense, that went to some highly populated areas, some high traffic areas. Pontiac, the thing you can't change about it, it's in the center of Oakland County, basically. It's accessible in every direction. Novi is a booming area. Royal Oak, as you know, is highly populated. And Macomb was a natural, kind of a natural extension from that on the east side. And so that's where we went first. And from there, it turned into the embracing the Lansing market.
So was there ever a moment where, you know, like I always tell people, if I owe somebody $20, I'm having a fit, I'm losing it. You know what I mean? Was there ever a time where you said, I might be in a little deep on this moment right now?
Every day of my life, Jason. Okay.
Stop it.
We
Stop it.
no, I tell you, when you're a small businessman, I have the ultimate respect for any small business, because it's 3 mistakes from being in big trouble. In the best of times, we fly pretty close to the sun every day. And I feel for so many businesses today that are really feeling the downside of this pandemic. I feel terrible for them because I know how challenging it is even in good times. So yeah, we got a lot of scar tissue, Jason. We keep, one thing we keep doing, we don't get married to too many ideas for too long. We want to stay fresh and relevant. And it does mean sometimes doing things we don't want to do. We didn't want to expand. We felt that was in fact a lower risk future than staying put.
Okay. Makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. You know,
Sure.
you can't, you've got to be progressive, especially in a market. So once again, these are one of the things that I've learned from you, man. In the last couple of years, you have taught me a ton of stuff You've tried to teach me how to fill out a spreadsheet. I'm finally, I think,
You're
getting
doing
that.
great. You're doing
Thank
great.
you, thank you, thank you. I'm working on it right now. So you're talking about taking risks, and you're talking about sometimes doing some uncomfortable things. Is Detroit? Let's move on. Let's move forward. So now we're in Detroit.
Sure.
You
Yep.
you know, you guys opened the first e-bike only store in Detroit. So what I mean by that, for those who aren't clear, is at Electric Avenue Bikes, you can't get what we jokingly call an acoustic bike. The only
Right.
thing that we sell here are electric bikes. Talk to me about the process of wanting to take the risk into the future of what we know now is e-bikes, but back then when it was, whoa, what is any of this?
Yes. And I got to give full credit to Michael on this. Michael is Michael Reuter is number one, courageous. He is not afraid to take a look at something, and then finding if he gets behind it, we're going to see it through. So Michael, I think this is why we work pretty well together. He's kind of the hunter and I'm the skinner. He'll kind of seek things out that make sense, and I will slowly but surely tackle those details of some day to day and getting, in your case, the right people in place to help make it happen. So the year we opened EAB, we also opened another store in Grand Ledge. So it was two stores at once, and that was challenging. But again,
I thought you guys were
all,
crazy. I'm just gonna
yeah.
say it. I thought you guys were crazy.
Oh, yeah. Tell us
Because
something we don't know, right?
you know what well, I still think you guys are crazy, but in a different, in a good way.
Thank you.
But when you guys, I didn't, not to say I forgot about Grand Ledge, but I was so wrapped up in EAB that I
Yeah.
did forget that simultaneously you guys were opening two businesses when most people are trying to get one open. You are opening two.
This is where we have certainly been able to scale that process of opening a store where it's familiar to us, and on the flip side, these were smaller stores as well, so the logistics were a little less challenging too. But yeah, it was the EAB, the shop in Detroit. It was a bold decision, and I really believe it was the right one too.
I can't fight that decision. I think it was the right decision as well, sir. And I'm full disclosure proud to be a part of this family down here, working out of this building.
Lucky to have
You know,
you, man.
you were talking. You touched briefly on it. This shop isn't like any other shop, and I'm kind of proud of this too. You know, you go to any other American Cycle and Fitness, and you guys have a ton of bikes, which is kind of the standard. But here, it's
Yeah.
a lot different.
It most certainly is very specific. But I think with each passing season, and let's remember, you have a tour business going out of there as well. And you're in a city that with every passing season has more of an easier transit, improved roads, improved paths, easier to get around. And taking your tours was an inspiration as well, because you can cover so much ground in so little time. And, with a growing migration of population going back to the cities, they do find that, you know what, I might not need that car. I can actually live my life on an e-bike, maybe even an acoustic bike. But with each passing season, I think EAB makes more and more sense, and isn't going to be that store that people go, oh, what, you don't have regular bikes here? I think it's something that's going to be perfectly acceptable.
Yep. And and what drew me also to this project not only was the fact that we were opening the first e-bike store in Detroit and I was working with great people, but it was the opportunity for us to get really invested in a community that means a lot to me. And through knowing you, I've learned means a lot to you. Pontiac is a lot like us. So
Yes.
let's talk about the community connection for EAB, because not only do we, do tours, but we service bikes, and we're really about building the experience around bicycling.
Absolutely. I have said for years, and hey, call me biased, I love our business first and foremost because everything we provide makes you a better version of yourself. Everything we provide is good for you. So that really is sustaining when you're in a business so long. And I'll take that further. Anyone who works in the business, I don't think they have any regrets. I've had a lot of youngsters come and go through the years, visiting me later and saying, that was a lot of fun working there. It was challenging, but I learned a lot. And it was more about the bikes. It was about dealing with people, about providing people, serving people well. Those were life skills that I'm really happy about, that we were able to impart on others. And that continues on as we try and continue to try to increase our diversity in our business.
And with that being said, we got to wrap this up in a minute, but let's touch on the amazing program that we're starting together. Earlier this year, we were tasked to find a bike mechanic of color. And I'll be honest, it was a very difficult task because through the years, I think a lot of people haven't been told that this is an existing job and there are opportunities that exist in this. So I reached out to, of course, Ken, one of my partners and mentors, and I said, Ken, how can we start something that we can help service the community? And we came up with a program that we're starting with the downtown boxing gym, but it's going to stretch beyond that. That is going to help people of color get training within the bicycle industry.
Yeah, we're going to launch an ongoing training sessions. It's just going to continue as we, I think, start a farm system. And we're looking to find candidates, identify them, have them complete the training that we've provided. And if we have openings and we're looking to, we're going to take them on as employees. And at the very least, they're going to be qualified enough and exposed enough to the business where they're employable, even with our competitors too. But we really want to get this going and keep it off the ground and keep it sustainable as we draw from employee talent in the city.
I love it. I love it. Ken, you got 2 seconds, 5 seconds to say, your last parting words, anything you want to say that you want people not to remember you by, but to, move on, from.
I'll say this: success is doing what is needed when it needs to be done. Failure is doing what you want when you want to do it. That's what's kept us around all these years, man.
Ken, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. Once again, this smile is because of the success that we've had, even just getting this shop open. If people should come by and see, we built the floors, the shelves, painted the walls. So I'm proud of everything that we've done together, and I'm proud of our friendship, brother. I can't wait to talk to you soon, man.
Thank you so much, Jason. You are lightning in a bottle, and we're lucky to have you. And thanks for all you do, man.
Ken, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you, brother. Wow. Everybody, man. Did you pick up a million games worth of knowledge on that one? Because I feel like I did. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you for everybody for joining us for the second episode of RiDetroit Weekly. You'll be able to catch this on YouTube. You'll be able to see it on Facebook. You'll be able to see, we're going to get this thing spread out all over the place. Please subscribe to the RiDetroit channel. And once again, follow Jason of All Trades on Instagram. Come by the shop. Talk to Anthony. Talk to Alpha. Once again, thanks everybody. See you next week.